I sat down on an old paint bucket and held it for a long time. My name is Harold Eugene Mitchell. I'm 78 years old, and I don't know my son. And I don't know my son. I mean, I know facts about him. I know he lives in Seattle. I know he works in something to do with software. I know he has 2 children whose faces I've only seen in photographs his wife posts online. But I don't know him. I don't know what he thinks about when he can't sleep. I don't know if he's happy. I don't know if he still remembers the summer we built that treehouse together, the one that leaned so bad we had to prop it up with 2x4s. I don't know if he thinks about me at all. That glove was his. I bought it for him in 1974. He was 9 years old. I remember the store. Decker's Sporting Goods on Main Street. It's a coffee shop now. One of those places with the fancy drinks. Michael picked that glove himself, held it up to his face, and smelled the leather. Kids do that, you know. They don't know why, but they do it anyway. He said, "This one, Dad." And I said, "You sure? There's a nicer one over here." And he said, "No, this one." I should have just said, "Okay." Instead, I spent 10 minutes trying to talk him into the more expensive glove, the one I thought was better, the one I would have chosen. He took the one I picked. He used it maybe 3 times. I've been thinking a lot lately about all the times I did that. All the times I thought I was helping when I was really just overwriting him. It sounds small. A baseball glove. A 9-year-old's preference. But it wasn't small. It was a pattern. It was 30 years of a pattern. I was a good provider. I want to be clear about that. I worked at the same insurance company for 34 years. Never missed a mortgage payment. Put food on the table every single night. Exposed brick, people call it now. Character. Back then, it was just an old house that needed work, and I kept it standing. I thought that was what being a father meant. Showing up, providing, fixing things. I didn't understand that children don't need to be fixed. Michael was a quiet kid. He liked to draw. He filled notebook after notebook with these detailed little sketches. Trees, buildings, faces of people on the bus. I didn't know what to do with that. My father worked at a grain elevator. His father worked on a farm. We didn't draw. We didn't sit with our thoughts. We moved. We built. We solved problems with our hands. So when Michael showed me his drawings, I'd nod and say something like, "That's nice, buddy." And then I'd ask if he wanted to help me fix the lawnmower. He always said yes. But I see now he was saying yes to me, not to the lawnmower. He wanted to be with me. And I kept handing him wrenches instead of asking him about the faces in his notebook. There was a night. I've thought about this night more than any other. He was maybe 15. Sophomore year. He came into the living room while I was watching the news. Stood there in the doorway for a second. I remember his socks had a hole in them. I remember thinking I should tell his mother to throw those out. He said, "Dad, can I talk to you about something?" And I said, "Sure, buddy. What's up?" But I didn't turn off the TV. I didn't even mute it. He stood there, and I could see him thinking, deciding. Then he said, "Never mind, it's not important." And he went upstairs. I let him go. I told myself I was giving him space. Told myself he'd come back when he was ready. He didn't come back. I don't know what he wanted to tell me that night. I've wondered for over 40 years. I've imagined 100 different versions. Maybe it was about a girl. Maybe it was about school. Maybe it was something that felt like the whole world to a 15-year-old boy. I'll never know. Because I didn't turn off the TV. He went to college 200 miles away. Then he took a job even further. Then he moved to Seattle. Every move felt logical. A better opportunity. A bigger city. A new chapter. But I think he was also just drifting away from me. Slowly. Quietly. Without either of us saying it out loud. We talked on the phone. Birthdays. Holidays. The conversations were pleasant. Polite. That's the word that haunts me now. Polite. My son and I became polite with each other. His mother passed 6 years ago. Elaine. We were married 49 years. After the funeral, Michael stayed for 3 days. He helped sort through her clothes, handled the paperwork, sat with me on the porch the night before he left. I wanted to say something real, something that might crack open all the years of silence between us, but I didn't know how, so I said, "Thanks for coming out." And he said, "Of course, Dad." And then he drove to the airport. I've had a lot of time alone since then. That's when you start to see things clearly, when the house is quiet and there's no one to perform for, no one to convince. I started going through boxes, old photographs, letters Elaine kept, school projects I didn't even know she'd saved. I found a Father's Day card Michael made in 2nd grade, construction paper, glitter glue, a drawing of the two of us holding hands. Inside, in big crooked letters, it said, "To the best Dad, I want to be just like you." I sat at the kitchen table and cried for the first time in maybe 30 years, because somewhere between that card and now, I lost him. And I don't think he ever wanted to leave. I think I just never gave him a door to come through. A few months ago, I tried something. I called him. Not for a birthday. Not for a holiday. Just to talk. He answered on the 4th ring. Sounded surprised. "Dad? Everything okay?" That's what we've become. A call from me means something's wrong. I said, "Everything's fine. I just wanted to hear your voice." There was a pause. A long one. Then he said, "Oh, okay. That's nice, Dad." We talked for maybe 15 minutes, about the weather, about his kids, about nothing really. But at the end he said, "Maybe I'll call you next week." He didn't, but he did call 2 weeks later, and it was a little easier. I'm not telling you this because I think I can fix it. I don't think I can. 78 years old, bad knee, heart that skips sometimes. A doctor who uses words like careful and realistic. I don't have 30 years to rebuild what I let crumble. Maybe I don't even have 3. But I've started writing letters. Not emails, letters on paper, with a pen. I tell him about his mother. Stories he never heard. How she laughed at her own jokes. How she used to sing in the shower and pretend she didn't. I tell him about my father. The things I never understood until he was gone. I tell him I'm sorry. Not for one thing. For all of it. For every time I handed him a wrench when he needed me to look at his drawings. For every time I thought being a father was about answers instead of questions. For the night he stood in the doorway and I didn't turn off the TV. I mailed the first letter 3 months ago. He called me the day after he got it. He didn't say much. His voice sounded different. Thicker. He just said, "I got your letter, Dad." And I said, "Okay." And then neither of us said anything for a while. But it wasn't an empty silence. It was something else. Something I don't have a word for. Maybe the beginning of something. Maybe not. I don't know. I still have that baseball glove. I cleaned it up. Rubbed some oil into the leather like you're supposed to. I don't know why. Maybe I'll give it to him next time I see him. Maybe I'll mail it. Maybe it'll just stay here on my workbench, waiting for something that might never come. I used to think that love was enough. That if you loved your children, they'd know. They'd feel it. You didn't have to say it. You didn't have to show it in their language. You didn't have to ask questions or sit in the mess of their feelings. You just had to love them. I loved Michael every day of his life, but I never learned how to show him in a way he could feel. And now I'm an old man with a baseball glove and a stack of letters, hoping it's not too late. I don't know who's listening to this. Maybe you have a son. Maybe you have a father. Maybe there's someone in your life who feels further away than they should. I'm not going to tell you what to do. I've spent my whole life telling people what to do. and look where it got me. I'll just say this. If there's something you've been meaning to say, maybe don't wait. Not because life is short, but because silence has a way of becoming permanent when you're not paying attention. Thanks for listening to an old man. If any of this meant something to you, I'd like to hear about it. Not for me, just because it helps to know we're not the only ones carrying these things. And if you want to hear more, I'll be here. For a while, anyway.